As mentioned, I'm one of the board members of the Surf Association in Munich, which is called IGSM, and we'll talk a little bit about what happened this year at the Eisbach and about the new safety concept which is now in place there. So I will go through the stuff more or less chronologically. So what happened, what was the situation before the accident, what happened at the accident, the surfing ban which was issued after it, the negotiations we had with the city about the new safety concept, and then the Eisbach reopening, which was at the end of June, and also about the future of the Eisbach. And then I have a second section which is a little bit about stuff we were facing when we were dealing with the press. Also the criticism we received and dealing with localism. So, as you may know, we have 3 waves in Munich. The E1, that's the one that I will be talking about today, the famous Eisbach wave. Surfing is legal there since 2010. That was actually how our association was founded, was some surfers who came together to legalize surfing there. And one of the things which initiated this legalization was actually also a fatal accident which happened, but with a swimmer. After this fatal accident, there were investigations against somebody from the state administration who was responsible for prohibiting swimmers to swim there. And this was when they tried to make it more rigorous to also, I think they wanted to destroy even the wave to make surfing not possible anymore. And after then there was, the land was exchanged with the City of Munich, so it was transferred from the state of Bavaria to the City of Munich, and the City of Munich legalized the surfing there. And then we have the E2, which is a small Eisbach wave. Surfing is still illegal there, but it's tolerated. It's still owned by the Bavarian state. And actually, a few months before we had this accident, there were also some negotiations by us with the city and the state to legalize surfing there also. And if the accident wouldn't have happened, I think surfing would already be legal there. So it postponed all the stuff, but it also was an advantage for us because we were already in close contact with the mayor's office because of this legalization of the E2. And then the last one, we have the Vlny, which is what we call the birthplace of river surfing. So people have been surfing there since 71. And this is the one where we are responsible as an association, but only since a few years ago. We have the liability for the surf spot. And unfortunately, this wave is not running the whole year, but only from May to September. And it's also one of the more beginner-friendly waves in Munich. So the E1, before the accident, surfing was legalized by a so-called Allgemeinverfügung. The literal translation would be general provision, and there were actually very few rules. You only had this one safety sign here, and one of the rules was that you're not allowed to surf when you're drunk or when you have taken drugs. The rule was that surfing is always at your own risk. The city is only liable in case of intentional or grossly negligent disregard of its monitoring capabilities, obligations. And monitoring was only done during the Bachauskehre, which happens like only every 1.5 years. And you can see it here. So the water flow is stopped. And you can see also here what is dangerous about the surf spot. So these are these stones which are in the water. And I think every surfer who has surfed at the Eisbach at one point or another has made contact with these stones. And in the best case, you only get a bruise, but there have also been like severe injuries, like broken bones, broken spines, and things like that. And this is not an official rule. It's actually under the section of notes that the Eisbach is only for experienced surfers. And one of the reasons is obviously these stones. So you can also see them here in the safety sign, the red thing, which looks a little bit like somebody put a sticker in front of it. It's actually these stones. So in April we had this fatal accident. I put here what was in the official report, how this happened. So it happened at night, about 11:30 p.m. There was a female surfer and her partner. They brought their own lights. At one point the partner heard screams for help and saw his girlfriend disappear below the water. He then tried several times to rescue her, so jump into the water, dive down, grab her, but this failed. Emergency services was called by some passers-by. They arrived rather early, so only 6 minutes, according to the report, after this accident happened. And there was the fire department. They had some swift water rescues. They had ropes, and they put these ropes onto the next to the riverbed somehow, and they somehow managed to grab her, also with the help of the partner, put her onto the land, but she was still attached to her leash, and only after they pulled her above the water onto the land, they cut the leash, and then the board surfaced and was swept away. This took in total like 30 minutes, so she was 30 minutes under the water without oxygen, and they tried to resuscitate her on the spot, and she was transported to a hospital. She was in a coma for 1 week, and after 1 week, unfortunately, she died. So what did we do when we heard about this accident? There was a lot of discussion, of course, in our association, what we could do, what we should do. The first thing, or one of the first things we did, was to inform the surfers about basic safety rules. So we did an Instagram post, an email newsletter with references to safety guides. There's one very good one from Austria and one also very good one from the River Break magazine. And because it was clear that this was because of the leash, entanglement of the leash, we also put a lot of links for people for safety leashes, because there are several commercial systems out there. And we know that this also led to a large order for safety leashes from the people, from the surfers in Munich, which is a good thing, of course. And because we are responsible for Vlny, we also said we have to do something at Vlny. And before, it was allowed to put the leash either below the knee or on the arm. And we said from now on, and this was actually like only 1 week before the season opening, we said we only also allow these self-releasing leashes at Vlny. We also talked to the DLRG, which is the German Rescue Association, to get some recommendations from them. And we ordered these rescue knives and these throw bags, and wanted to put them up at all of the waves. We also very early contacted the city administration, suggested that we offered our help in improving the safety of the Eisbach. We suggested that they put in this the Surf Anywhere safety sign about the risk of surfing with a leash, and we also told them that maybe it's a good idea to install these throwbacks and also these rescue knives at all waves. And we also said, because we already knew that sometimes people throw stuff into the river, there's a big parking space for e-scooters actually directly at the wave. We said, please put up a no parking zone for these e-scooters. And at this point, it was also not clear yet what was the reason that her leash got entangled. And then we also created a task force, and we invited some very experienced surfers from the E1 to join this task force to discuss also about the new safety concept, because we knew that there will probably be like official talks with the city. So this has nothing to do with safety, but also something that we did. We did a memorial service for the victim of the accident. This was, of course, after consultation with the family. It was a very nice event. We asked a local surfboard company to make this memorial surfboard. Everybody could sign it. There were a lot of flowers put there. I think this is now also with the family of the victim, the surfboard. They wanted to keep it. Yeah. So what did the city officials do after the accident? 3 days after the accident, they issued a surfing ban. They said it cannot be excluded that there is still some dangerous stuff in the riverbed which would have caused the entanglement of the leash. And they first want to investigate the riverbed before they allow surfing there. At the beginning, they only had like these line put there, and then after a few days, they put up real fences and some signs there. And because the partner of the victim filed a criminal complaint against unknown, because he also didn't know if somebody threw something into the riverbed, there was an official investigation by the district attorney. And 1 week after the surfing accident, they also revoked the general provision which allowed surfing there and replaced it with a new general provision which says surfing is now forbidden there. And actually they put a very high fine for that, 50,000 euros if you surf there. And also very early, we don't know when exactly, the city, they hired a lawyer. It's a lawyer who's specialized in risk management. We already knew him because he also did the safety concept for Vlny, and he also did work with the city before for safety concepts for bathing spots. Yeah, that's his website. So it's I think it's not a secret who he is. He also writes it on his website. Yeah. Then only 2 weeks after it took 2 weeks until they actually investigated the riverbed. Yeah. This was not easy because they had to stop or reduce the water flow there to do this, and because of ecological reasons this was a lot of bureaucratic effort to do this. But of course after 2 weeks, if there was something in the riverbed, it might have already disappeared. Yeah, they did. The police, they looked at everything, but they found nothing. Like no smoking gun, like an e-scooter or something, was not found. In the report it says they only found a few metallic objects, which are probably always there because it's a river and stuff gets thrown into it and swept away. 3 weeks after the accident, the surf community got a little bit impatient. They were 3 weeks without surfing, and we were already in contact with the city officials and especially the mayor's office. Yeah, some surfers didn't feel maybe represented by us, or they thought they have to do something by themselves, and so they made an open letter to the mayor where they said that the wave should be reopened. And this was signed by a lot of people, 3,600 people in just a few days. We did not sign this letter because we were already in contact almost on a daily basis with the mayor, and it would have been a little bit strange to sign this open letter to open the Eisbach. And also we knew that the mayor had a large interest in reopening the Eisbach because it's also one of the main tourist attractions in Munich. But because of these legal issues and the official investigation, he could not open it yet. And actually the answer from the mayor was only 1 day later, and was to us, which was a little bit strange. So somebody from the surf community, not us, made this open letter to the mayor, and the mayor answered to us, and he explained why this surfing ban was. It's to protect the city employees from criminal consequences, because he said if they would reopen the surf spot and something would happen again, then there would really be criminal investigations against the city officials, because they did nothing, they changed nothing to improve the situation. So he said, yeah, we have to wait until the official investigations are completed, and a new safety concept has to be done. And he said he will invite us for a round table to discuss this new safety concept. And this round table then took place day 35 after the accident. It was us, and we also invited some of the Eisbach locals, the well-known experienced surfers. And there, the city lawyer was there, the mayor's office was there, city administration was there. It was us. We also brought some lawyers. And then they basically presented us with a table with a lot of safety measures that they had in mind, which should be done in the future to help prevent accidents like this, or which help to improve the safety there. Some of the suggestions came from us. So for example, the leash with the self-release, we also said, yeah, that makes sense, and this is also something which is now implemented. They also wanted to have helmets. We said, well, don't make it a requirement. In the end, it's also just a recommendation. And because the accident happened at night, they also wanted to allow surfing only during daylight. And this we absolutely rejected, because at winter it gets dark at like 5 p.m. so nobody who's working would be able to surf anymore. And there was a lot of discussion by that at the end. Now surfing is allowed between 5:30 a.m. and 10 p.m. Then they also wanted to do an age restriction, surfing only after 16 years. We wanted to have surfing under 14 with a supervisor, but no general restriction. The current rule is no surfing under 14, and from 14 to 16 with a supervisor, so kind of a compromise. Then they also suggested to put a 24-hour video surveillance of the Eisbach with a live stream. This was basically like to observe the surfers if they adhere to the rules. And this was also a critical issue for us. We didn't want that, also because of privacy issues. And this was also luckily not implemented. Then the parking ban for e-scooters, I already mentioned, is also implemented. And in the past, there were also a lot of commercial offers for surf courses at the Eisbach. For example, you do your bachelor party at the Eisbach, you can surf there on websites like Get Your Guide and Airbnb Experience, which were already illegal. But they said they want to take action against it, that they be taken down from the websites, and this is also now implemented. We also suggested this rescue equipment, rescue knife, throwbacks. With the knives, they said, no, it's not allowed. They don't want to have knives in public spaces. The throwbacks, they are still not there. Well, there's the normal, I don't know how you call it, the ring is there, but no throwbacks. Yeah, I don't know if they come or not. And the buddy system, yeah, they wanted to allow surfing only with a buddy. We said, yeah, makes sense. It's probably also how it's already done. Normally people don't go surfing alone, they go surfing there with a buddy. Also, to maybe not our total surprise, they wanted us to sign a contract. And because we had a similar contract at the Vlny, but at the Vlny we have artificial construction which is generating the wave, and that's why we have the liability. At the Eisbach there's no construction, the city takes the liability, but still they found some arguments that we as the surfers, because surf spot, this is not a surf spot, it's just a river, which by accident there's a wave where people can surf. So they said, yeah, you want to surf there, so you have to do some inspections and controlling. They wanted us to inspect the signs, inspect that all the rescue equipment are there, inspect there are no illegal installations. So this is a critical point, because in the past always people have put some wooden planks or some wooden plates in there to improve the wave, and luckily this was not there when the accident happened, because it also been, of course, some investigations against the people who put it there. And this is, in the eye of the city, this is very critical, of course, and they wanted us to check for these illegal installations. Also, if there are any hazards like e-scooters in the water, and to do this at least once a week, and to document it somehow, and also to do a reporting of all accidents and near accidents, and then tell to the city what these accidents were. So if somebody hit their head, we have always to write a report and send it to the city. And because of this controlling obligations, there would also be some liability with us. And they wanted us to have a liability insurance. We already have this for the Floßlände, but they wanted us to also include the Eisbach in this liability insurance, which needs a 20 million euro coverage. And of course, we were very hesitant in signing this, and we haven't signed this up to date. It took a long time until this criminal investigation was finished, so almost 70 days. This is the official report. At the end, they couldn't find a clear cause for the accident. Yeah? They said it's likely, but it's not, cannot be proven, that she was entangled on the stones, which I showed right in the first picture with her board or the leash. And very important for us, they said that the city is not liable for this accident because surfing was at your own risks. The surfers knew the risks better than the city. Also, it was the first fatal accident in all of the surfing history of Eisbach. People have been surfing there since the 80s. So it's very clear that the city was not liable, which was, of course, good for us also. So only a few days after the criminal investigation was completed, the mayor gave the order to reopen the Eisbach. This was a bit of a surprise because the safety concept was not finalized. We didn't sign the contract yet, but the mayor was just pushing to it. He was on a sick leave actually for a few weeks. He came back from the sick leave. He had a look at the report from the criminal investigation. He said, "Come on, guys, let's open the Eisbach." The city administration would have been more hesitant. They would have taken at least a few more weeks to reopen it. And there was a small hiccup when they reopened the Eisbach. They wanted to remove all like these wooden planks that I told that people put in there sometimes to improve the wave. And but one of the city administration offices took this a bit too literal, and they by accident almost destroyed the wave by removing these wooden planks, which have been put up 30 years ago by the famous Walter Strasser, the so-called janitor of the Eisbach. They are, of course, there illegally, but they are what make the Eisbach surfable since 30 years. And they removed it. You can see it here. There was, of course, a big outcry by the surf community, and so they reinstalled it a few days afterwards. It's now nice because they were already old and almost crumbling by themselves. So now we have new ones. Yeah. And then they put up a lot of new safety signs. So if you compare it to the situation before with only this one safety sign, now we have like tons of them, and all the safety rules. And fun fact, also these pictures here, they were done by a graphic designer from us, because apparently the city was not able to do this in this amount of time that they had. So we had to do like the safety signs for them, and they put it up there. And there's a new Allgemeinverfügung published with all the rules. So this is the current situation. What will be the future of the Eisbach? So this Allgemeinverfügung, it's actually expires because there's another Bachhauskehr, the cleaning of the riverbed, and then there will be a new Allgemeinverfügung. And so just this week on Monday we had again discussions with the city officials about what will be the new rules after the river cleaning. And there's also a new surf club in town, because I already told that some of the surfers, they were not really happy with how we handled the situation. More about this later. And they founded a new club, and he was also involved in the discussions. But so far, we are working together rather well, I would say. Because surfing is allowed until 10 p.m. and this was fine in the summer when it's still daylight at 10 p.m. But in the winter it gets dark early. They will put up artificial lighting there, which is kind of nice for us, which then automatically turns off at 10 p.m. Otherwise, the rules will stay more or less the same. There will be some minor changes, but the city administration is still pushing us to sign this contract so that we have the controlling duties for the Eisbach. And this is also one of the reasons why they invited this new surf club, because they said, well, if IGSM does not sign it, maybe this new surf club will sign it. And they also told us this is now a safety concept, so the general provision does not expire, but as soon as something happens again, and also maybe it's not an accident, but there are a lot of people who will just hit their head and they know about it, then the safety concept needs to be reevaluated and can of course change in the future also again. So now I come to a second part of my talk, which is a little bit about the criticism and the struggles that we faced. So this is how we felt. So this is us in the middle, the E1 locals, the politicians, the press, the city administrations, our members. Was a lot of stuff to deal with in parallel. A lot of different stakeholders with very different expectations. Yeah, so you may have heard that during the surfing ban there were of course some people who were still surfing. They thought that, I don't know, maybe city will reopen the Eisbach earlier if I surf there illegal. Of course this was not really helpful, but it was in the line of they said that we have to protest more. So IGSM is just negotiating, but we have to protest. So this was one of the criticisms towards us. They said we are more like the people down here, and they wanted to be more like the people up here, so we are not protesting enough. There was also some interview by a member of our association right at the beginning, where they issued the surfing ban, and it was still unclear if there's some dangerous stuff in the riverbed, where he said that I think it's good that the city now issued the surfing ban, and this was not very well received by the surf community. Then there are some people who say that we don't have any legitimation to care about the Eisbach because we are only responsible for Vlny. Our association, as I said at the beginning, was founded to legalize the surfing at Eisbach, but because at the last 10 years there was not much to do. The wave was running. It was cared about by the city administration, and also, I have to admit, most of the board members of our associations don't belong to the Eisbach core local group, so we don't surf there every day. We are more like the local community, part of the local community at Vlny, and so they said, yeah, you're just the Vlny guys, you don't know about E1, you don't have any right to talk about the Eisbach and decide what's going to happen with it. So they put up some nice signs at the Eisbach against us and things like that. We also got some anonymous emails, and yeah. And then there was also criticism towards our communication, how we communicated what happened to the surf community. And I think this is partly justified. It was also because the city administration didn't want too much information to leak onto the public until the safety concept was finalized. Our lawyers also suggested this to us, to not leak too much information on the outside, but of course people were not really happy with that. I also mentioned this letter from the mayor, which was directed to us, this was also not very well received in the surf community. And finally, our special friends from the Bavarian Surf Association, they also, of course, took the opportunity to hate against us. For example, with the rescue knives, they said, this doesn't make sense. How should I carry the rescue knife when I go surfing in my wetsuit? So they didn't realize or didn't want to realize that maybe you put the safety knife somewhere at the surf spot, at the, on the ground or something. Yeah. They said that we are not competent enough to talk about safety. They also criticized this rule about surfing with a leash on the arm, which we actually got rid of, but yeah. And that was it, basically, yeah. That was my talk, so if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Thanks for open communication of the whole problem. I think it must be very sensitive for you. I have one little question. The municipality offered you a contract, and it has a lot of obligations for you. But did they also offer something for you? Like what did they offer for you? For all the stuff you...
Nothing. So yeah, basically we wouldn't have any advantages for this. They more or less appealed to our conscience and said that the city is doing a lot to allow surfers to surf there, so the surfers should also be involved and give something back. Yeah.
I'm not surprised that you did not sign it. Another question?
Yeah, I was wondering with which arguments did you convince them not to proceed with a helmet obligation to surf?
For the helmets, we talked a lot about other sports, for example skiing, where there's also not obligation to wear a helmet, or I think climbing, and at the end this was accepted. Yeah.
Robert? We'll resolve this.
Yes, I just want to state that there's always someone who is not content with the people who are doing the work, but I want to state that the IGSM and the board of the IGSM, that they did an incredible job. You know, all the media around Europe, even the newspapers from the United States, they called us what's going on in Munich, and you handled the situation so cool and so great. So I would like to give a big round of applause to those guys.
Thank you. This applause is also mainly for Franz, who is unfortunately not here. He's the first head of our association. He did a lot of the work, especially with the media and the press, and also with the mayor's office.
One more question, so then we move.
Are the stones still in the river bottom?
Yeah, the stones are still in the river bottom. They were a little bit of the discussion. If, for example, the criminal investigation would have made it clear that these stones are responsible for the accident, then they probably would have done something to them. But they also have a sense in they are to prevent erosion of the riverbed, and so they cannot just remove them. And also, of course, the surfers are worried about what happens to the wave if we remove them. And then there's also some more or less silly arguments, which are the stones are good because they are there, because they prevent more beginners from going to the Eisbach to surf. So this is the argument of the core local community of why they have to stay there.
So maybe just one last question. It's really surprising that these throwbacks and these kind of security knife to cut the leash are not at the wave yet. Why is that?
Yeah, with the knives, they said no knives at public spaces. It's too dangerous. Yeah, even these safety rescue knives. With the throwbacks, I'm also not sure if they would have prevented this kind of accident. So I think the more safety equipment you have there or rescue equipment, the better. But it's also not clear if it would have prevented or done anything good. Okay.